Prince Harry has always been the royal who wears his heart on his sleeve. But when news broke of the passing of Catherine, Duchess of Kent, a figure beloved for her quiet grace and decades of service, it wasn't just grief that made headlines. It was what happened afterward. Harry reportedly went nuts after the Duke of Kent, one of the most senior members of the royal family, completely ignored his condolence email. Yes, you read that right. Ghosted in grief. And if you've ever been left on read at the worst possible time, you'll know exactly why this story has people buzzing. A royal farewell that shocked the nation. Catherine, Duchess of Kent, wasn't the loudest or most visible royal, but her influence was undeniable. Known for her compassion, her love of music, and her willingness to step away from the spotlight, her passing marked the end of an era. For many, she was the embodiment of quiet dignity, a contrast to the often chaotic headlines surrounding younger royals. But before we continue, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Naturally, tributes poured in. Messages of condolence, carefully worded statements, and emotional memories filled the airwaves. But for Harry, reaching out wasn't just about protocol, it was personal. He fired off a heartfelt email to the Duke of Kent, hoping to bridge grief with empathy. But then, silence. Absolute silence. And this is where things took a dramatic turn. When silence speaks louder than words. We've all been there. Sending a carefully crafted message, pouring your heart into words, and waiting for a reply that never comes. Now imagine that happening within the royal family, where every pause, every word unsaid, carries more weight than the words themselves. Harry, who has faced public cold shoulders before, reportedly snapped when his outreach was met with nothing but royal crickets. Friends close to him whispered that he felt it was a deliberate snub. After all, how hard is it to type a polite thank you, or even a simple noted? But here's the real kicker. Was this just an oversight during a time of grief, or a calculated reminder of the frosty ties that bind Harry to his relatives? The royal ripple effect. In the palace, nothing is ever just personal. Harry's fury didn't stay private. It rippled across the royal rumor mill. Some insiders suggested the Duke of Kent's silence was symbolic, a quiet alignment with those in the family who believe Harry has gone too far with his tell-alls and interviews. Others argued it was simply a tragic case of bad timing, emails overlooked in the haze of mourning. Yet, Harry's reaction made sure this wasn't just a family matter. The narrative quickly spun into another chapter of the Harry versus the royals saga. And for the public, it's a mix of sympathy and head-shaking. Because whether you're a prince or not, being snubbed in your moment of vulnerability stings like lemon juice in a paper cut. What this teaches us about grief and connection. Step back from the palace gates for a moment, and there's a very human lesson here. Grief has a strange way of magnifying tensions. Old wounds resurface, words are misinterpreted, and silence becomes louder than any argument. Haven't we all had moments where family drama overshadowed the very thing we were supposed to be coming together for? Weddings, funerals, holidays. Sometimes the politics of relationships take center stage when they should really fade into the background. So, was Harry's outburst over the top? Maybe. But was it human? Absolutely. The unanswered questions. This whole episode leaves us with tantalizing questions. Did the Duke of Kent truly intend to snub Harry? Or was it just an unfortunate oversight? Was Harry's fury a raw reaction to grief, or a symptom of his larger, ongoing estrangement from the firm? And most importantly, will this moment deepen the rift, or become a strange catalyst for reconciliation? As the world continues to watch the Windsors like a live soap opera, one thing is certain. Silence, in this family, is never simple. A final thought for us all. Whether you side with Harry, the Duke of Kent, or somewhere in between, there's something undeniably relatable here. We've all longed for acknowledgement in our darkest moments. We've all felt the sting of being left out, ignored, or dismissed. So maybe, just maybe, this royal drama is a reminder for all of us. When someone reaches out in grief, even a few words of comfort can mean the world. Because at the end of the day, titles fade, crowns gather dust, but kindness? Kindness is the only legacy that truly lasts. And now, I'll turn it over to you. Do you think the Duke of Kent's silence was intentional, or just an unfortunate oversight? Should Harry have kept his cool, or was his outburst justified? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear where you stand on this royal storm in the middle of mourning. Prince Harry has always been the royal family's wild card. Emotional, outspoken, and often caught in the storm of palace politics. But nothing could have prepared the world for what unfolded after the heartbreaking announcement that Catherine, Duchess of Kent, had passed away. In the midst of grief and public mourning, Harry found himself in yet another family drama, this time sparked by a silence so loud it set him off. When the Duke of Kent allegedly ignored Harry's heartfelt condolence email, insiders claim the prince went nuts. And honestly, who among us hasn't been driven crazy by being ghosted in a moment when acknowledgement meant everything? The passing of a beloved duchess, Catherine, Duchess of Kent, was more than just a royal title. Known for her love of music, her charitable spirit, and her decision to live a quieter life away from constant public scrutiny, she had won the respect of many across the UK and beyond. Her passing felt like the closing of a gentle, dignified chapter in the monarchy's story. Tributes poured in from all corners, statements from family members, emotional notes from well-wishers, and public recognition of a woman who left behind a lasting legacy. For Prince Harry, this was a moment to set aside differences. Reports say he penned a moving condolence email to the Duke of Kent, Catherine's husband, offering sympathy and perhaps even hoping to build a small bridge in a family divided. But the response he expected never came. Instead, silence. Ghosted in grief. Think about it. You've taken the time to reach out with compassion. You've expressed your sadness, your solidarity, maybe even your hope for reconciliation. And then, nothing. No reply. No acknowledgement. Just the echo of your own words sitting in an inbox. Harry, already strained from years of cold shoulders and subtle, sometimes not so subtle royal pushback, reportedly saw this as a deliberate insult. In his eyes, this wasn't just about a missed email, it was about being dismissed, again by the very institution he once called home. And that's when his emotions got the better of him. Was the Duke of Kent's silence intentional? Or was it simply an oversight during a time when grief clouds judgment and mundane tasks like email replies fall by the wayside? That's the mystery feeding the frenzy right now. A family rift in high definition. The royal family doesn't do casual drama. Every word, every glance, every silence is analyzed, magnified, and broadcast across the globe. For Harry, who has lived under the microscope since birth, being ignored in this moment only deepened the sense of separation. To outsiders, it may look like a simple non-reply. But to those inside the royal bubble, silence can be as sharp as a sword. Some commentators suggest the Duke of Kent's lack of response was a quiet show of loyalty to the monarchy, especially after Harry's explosive interviews and memoirs. Others insist it was just bad timing, a man in mourning unable to respond to every message. Either way, Harry's angry reaction made sure the silence spoke volumes. The human side of the drama. Strip away the titles and castles, and this is really about something universal. The desperate need to feel seen, especially in moments of vulnerability. Who hasn't experienced the sting of being ignored when reaching out in good faith? Weddings, funerals, reunions, family gatherings often bring old wounds to the surface, making minor gestures feel monumental. Harry's nuts reaction may seem dramatic, but it's also deeply human. When emotions are raw, even small slights can feel unbearable. And grief doesn't just amplify sadness. It magnifies every tension, every silence, every unresolved conflict. What happens next? Here's where things get really intriguing. Will this ignored email become yet another wedge driving Harry further from the family? Or could it, in a strange twist, highlight just how badly the royals need to find a path toward reconciliation? The unanswered questions are piling up. Did the Duke of Kent really mean to snub Harry? Or was it simply a slip? Was Harry's outburst an overreaction? Or a sign of how deeply hurt he still feels by his family? And most importantly, Will this drama fade quietly, or is it about to ignite another round of royal headlines? For a family that thrives under scrutiny and symbolism, even an unanswered email becomes global news. Lessons for the rest of us. Beyond the palace walls, there's a lesson here that hits home. In times of loss, words, or the lack of them, carry incredible weight. Reaching out, even with the simplest message, can provide comfort. Ignoring someone, intentionally or not, can open old wounds and create new ones. If there's one takeaway, it's this: never underestimate the power of acknowledgement. A simple thank you.